Thanks for joining us. Hello.
Welcome to the 12th House Plus.
Yes, we're so glad that you subscribed because we spend a lot of time making this podcast and we want to make it better for you. And we want to talk about the things that you want to hear more about, bring on the guests that you want to hear from. So this helps us do all of that. And now that you're here, every month we'll be dropping a new episode just for you, just for the Plus subscribers. We'll be talking about things that are a little bit more intimate, personal, and just kind of an extension of what we're already talking about on the 12th House.
The stuff that's, inside voice, just between us ghouls as friends.
All the ghouls.
So without further ado, should we get into it?
Let's get into it.
My mind is blown from these conversations with Heather. I feel like I'm cracked open.
Yeah.
We just couldn't get enough of the narcissist content.
We had to know more.
Everyone's got a story about a narcissist. An ex, a mom, a dad, a boss,
And I still have more questions.
I do too. I'm like, do I now have even more questions than I started with?
Yeah.
I just want to follow her around and study her studying narcissists. Is that weird?
No, not weird at all. I also haven't read her books and want to read her books.
Oh, definitely. They're very good. I read the How to Heal from Your Abusive Narcissistic Ex, and it was great. And I wish I had it 5 years ago.
Truly, you're like, this is a nice recap of what I didn't do.
Right, exactly. It's like, well, that would have been a lot easier if I had just followed these instructions. But, all's well that ends well.
True. And also, I think there's just certain things from this conversation and the conversation that you had with her where I'm like, I'm realizing things.
When she talks about narcissistic bosses, I was like, oh, I kind of always made a joke about my narcissistic boss, but
yeah.
Nope. No, that person was actually probably a narcissist.
Yeah, you're like, check. Well, there is a little bit of parental stuff where I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, I thought you brought up such a good point about for lots of caretakers, their identity becomes caretaking. And when that gets ripped away from them, when they become empty nesters, that can be so dysregulating. And when does it sort of cross the line from, oh, this is really hard and you're hurt and maybe you haven't worked on yourself in a long time. And so you can be toxica, or you're a narcissist and your kids are a reflection of you and you don't view them as entities outside of you. And that's obviously troublesome and abusive in a totally different way.
Yeah. And also the spectrum of understanding, we didn't totally talk about this specifically, but the spectrum of narcissism where it's you can see traits in people where you're like, oh, that's what that is, even if they're not a full-blown narcissist.
Totally.
And we talk about this in the episode, but just how much our society is encouraging that, especially in young people. And with our, which I like that she said, quote unquote, leaders.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't even essentially want to call these people leaders because that's not what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's a great part too.
Yeah. I feel like we all have these narcissistic traits, right? And we can embody more narcissism or less narcissism depending on where we are in our own journey. And I feel like that's perhaps why narcissists are so triggering to so many of us, because of course we've had experience with them, but also the moments we've been just so mad at ourselves or embarrassed of our own actions often stem from this narcissistic, oh my God, I can't help myself for sending that text or flaring up that person or whatever, doing this petty thing. And it's, it's so complicated. Being a person is so complicated.
So hard. And I also feel like anyone who's really done the deep dive on narcissistic traits has been like, wait, am I?
Oh,
is
totally.
that me?
But I think if you're questioning it, then you're not. That's what she said in the first episode.
Yeah, which is also a nice relief. You're like, okay, cool.
I'm just self-obsessed.
Yeah. I'm just doing the work on myself always. So, well, I think you guys are really going to enjoy this episode. So we're gonna let you get to it.
Yeah. Thanks for being subscribers to the 12th House Plus. It really helps us and we love you so much. Thanks for helping us make this thing. And we'd love to hear from you. What do you want to hear more about on the 12th House Plus and all of this new content that only our VIPs get? Shoot us a note at Holisticism on Instagram.
We will 1000% talk about it. We'll get guests to talk about it. All we do for you. And like Michelle said, thank you for being here.
All right.
Enjoy the episode.